What is going on, guys? It's your boy Edward V, and today we're going to talk about when should you start intermittent fasting. Now, this is going to dive a little bit deeper into the psyche of weight loss and what you prefer to do for your weight loss protocol versus what you prefer not to do. And this is a pretty important subject if you're still on the fence with intermittent fasting or if you just don't know how to start. I'm going to go ahead and break it down in this video. Stay tuned. Okay guys, when should you start intermittent fasting? Now, I say this because intermittent fasting, believe it or not, although this channel is been built on the entire breadth of information that comes with intermittent fasting is not for everyone. If you don't want to eat just once or twice a day, then you shouldn't have to eat just once or twice a day. Now, there are studies that show that there's health benefits to doing intermittent fasting, that there's benefits for weight loss with intermittent fasting versus other methods like just caloric restrictions. There are studies that exist out there, and there's even meta-analysis that exists out there. But it still comes to preference. And the reason why I say that preference is an important factor is because sustainability, being able to adhere to the diet, is an important and probably the most important factor over anything else. It doesn't matter how healthy intermittent fasting is. It doesn't matter how beneficial it is versus something else if you cannot stick to it, because at the end of the day, you will just go back to what you were before, what you were doing before. And if it wasn't a place that you wanted to be in, then you're going to be stuck. You're just going to revert back to those health issues that you had in the past. So intermittent fasting, yes, it's great, it's good, but if you can't stick to it, if you don't want to do it, then you don't have to do it. If you're on the fence, however, when should you start? If you don't really know what to do, what are the likely things that are happening that would be a perfect scenario for you to start intermittent fasting? So these are the scenarios that I've kind of put together to say that when these things start to happen, maybe you can try to look into doing intermittent fasting or starting intermittent fasting. Of course, the first one being the incredibly obvious one, if all else has failed you. So if you've done 6 meals a day and it hasn't worked for you, you've bounced back and forth, that means sustainability is abysmal with 6 meals a day. It doesn't mean that other people can't do 6 meals a day for the rest of their lives. They can. Personally, I couldn't see how I could do 6 meals a day for the rest of my life, but maybe you can. But if you cannot, and that is the thing that you're trying, try to do literally the opposite of that and see what happens. See if it works for you. Because if that's really difficult, it might be that intermittent fasting becomes very easy to do, because it's literally the juxtaposition to eating 6 meals a day. One is eat all the time, one is just eat in a very minimal amount of time. So if you're in that point where you're like on your 5th attempt of doing 6 meals a day, maybe instead of doing that 5th attempt, try to do intermittent fasting if you haven't tried it yet. You never know. It might work for you, and it might be the thing that you like to do. Another thing that would make you want to start intermittent fasting, or it could be a gateway to start intermittent fasting, is if you're trying to lose more weight, but for some reason you just can't do it on the current diet that you're on. This has happened to a lot of people. They do a perfect diet that works for them. They get to a certain level and they just can't lose more weight. So maybe interjecting a different protocol to see if it gives you that edge, gives you the adherence edge in terms of controlling calories, because that's still one of the benefits of intermittent fasting. Although people like to kind of brush that to the side and say, well, intermittent fasting works because it helps you control calories, so it doesn't matter. No, that's a big point. That's still a big point. That's a psychological thing, and we're constantly doing psychological battles to stay within a certain diet protocol, to stay doing any kind of diet where you're trying to lose weight, where you're trying to reach a certain goal. The psychological element of it is a massive part of it. So if intermittent fasting can do something that kind of restricts you from eating so many different things throughout the day and then increasing your calories, it is a major benefit. It is a plus to the protocol. So if you find that you think you're within your calorie range and you're trying to maintain calories, but it's kind of getting away from you because it's so broad, you can eat whenever, maybe try intermittent fasting where it restricts you, where it holds you accountable to eating at a specific time and then not eating for a bigger amount of time throughout the day. Maybe that can help you actually reach your goals, because then you will find out that you're not eating as many calories because you have cut yourself off after a certain time. So if you have problems getting down because you think you're doing your calories, but you feel unsure if you're maintaining that caloric intake that you're supposed to maintain to be in a deficit to keep going down, try intermittent fasting. It might help you actually consolidate those calories and make sure that you're not going over. You'll be so cognizant of the amount of calories that you have on your table because the eating window is so small. So if you find yourself having to try to lose a little bit more weight, maybe at that point, if you haven't tried intermittent fasting yet, maybe you should go ahead and give it a try. And if you care about so much more than just weight loss, and there's other health benefits that you care about, studies have shown that intermittent fasting in and of itself, without weight loss, even if they put everyone on a caloric maintenance diet and they didn't lose weight, group A versus group B, the intermittent fasting group still showed beneficial health markers, because just the process of fasting starts to trigger things that are healthy for the body, because you are giving your body more resources to work on other parts of your body rather than focusing so much on the digestive process, breaking down foods, moving all of the nutrition and all of that stuff, moving it all over the place, doing it, it's focusing on the digestion. And usually we're always kind of digesting food if we do the normal breakfast, lunch, and dinner, considering the fact that it takes about 8 to 12 hours to even get into the post-absorptive range, which is when you're no longer digesting food. So if you're in that range constantly, you never really give your body the ability to work on other things effectively, because you're constantly telling it, hey, digest, hey, go ahead, you need to digest again. I know you just finished digesting, but I got more food for you to digest. It makes it harder for your body to focus on other aspects, and things like autophagy is increased because of this, because your cells can now, focus and say, well, he's not eating, so let's be efficient as possible. It starts self-eating the bad cells, but then of course regenerating good cells. And this can definitely be a very healthy thing for you. So if you want to increase your health markers even more, intermittent fasting may be something that you want to look into. And of course, you want to look at the studies first and make an informed decision. But like I said, there are studies out there with intermittent fasting doing the caloric maintenance versus the just calorie maintenance group that eats breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and still showing positive health markers for the intermittent fasting group. So those are the 3 reasons, or the major reasons, that I would say that why you should start intermittent fasting if you're on the fence. Or those are the scenarios that if you're there and you haven't tried intermittent fasting, just give it a shot. Like I said, intermittent fasting might not be for everyone. Some people want to eat all the time. Some people want to have the standard American diet, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but others do not, and they don't even know that there is an alternative. They think that if they don't eat, they will be unhealthy. So if this has been the stigma that you have felt for a long time, and that's the reason why you don't even want to dip your feet in the water, I'm telling you that the studies have shown that this is not unhealthy. For 16-hour fast or 20-hour fast or 1 meal a day, you can go ahead and try these protocols. So hopefully this video has helped you guys. And of course, I want to thank my patrons for my Patreon, and I'm going to go ahead and put their names right up here. And of course, as always, guys, I'll see you on Wednesday for another FAQ.